Hello everyone, welcome back to the Raquel and Nathan YouTube channel. Today I've got a pretty interesting video. I'm going to be PlastiDipping the back stripe on the truck. Now the back, my dad did actually recommend this to me because the tailgate's kind of boring on this truck. So if I go around the back, I'll show you exactly what I mean. Sorry I jumped the gun a little bit, you can see that I've already started the masking process. But basically where the lights are, there's like a kink on the back tailgate, and I thought it would be really nice if I could follow that line in matte black and go across from light to light. So I've spent a fair, probably about 20-30 minutes now just masking this up and getting that kink correctly, because I'm only following the crease in the boot, so it's actually really difficult to get right. Now the masking tape obviously does slightly make it look a bit weird, but it's definitely the same height and it's going to look really good. I've measured it, so it should all be the exact same. If it's not, I'll be a little bit gutted. What we'll do is we'll crack on with the PlastiDipping. It's going to be quite exciting, and I'll go through the procedures of how you do that. So here on this bench is everything you need to PlastiDip your vehicle. Now I've got 2 tins of matte black paint right here, and I've also got the PlastiDip pre-clean, so you wipe the surface down with this before you PlastiDip. This isn't exactly necessary, you can just use a general degreaser, but this is a little bit more friendly for the paint, and it's also designed for the PlastiDip, of course. So I'm going to be using that. And PlastiDip comes in tons of different variants. You've got obviously loads of different colours, but you also have different clear coats. Now this is a 3K gloss, so this will basically give the matte finish a shiny finish, but I don't want that, as all the other accessories on my truck are matte, so I won't be clear coating this. You can buy a matte clear coat, but I currently don't have my hands on that, so I'm just basically PlastiDipping with nothing else, no clear coat, nothing. So we'll crack on, wipe the surface down, and we will start spraying. Okay, so the surface has been prepped and wiped down, and what happens is the PlastiDip comes with 2 nozzles. The red one in here is the wide sort of spray nozzle, and the white one's just the regular one. I stick with the regular one as it leaves a nicer finish, but once you start getting to the lower ends of the can, if you really want to get the dregs out of it, you can put the red cap on and you can get sort of the final bits out the can, but I normally don't bother because sometimes you get inconsistent results. So what I'm going to do is get a pot and basically put this in the pot of warm water for about 10 minutes and leave it so it gets to about 25-30 degrees, and then you get like a really smooth spray, like you don't get any splatters, like it's perfect. So what I'll do is chuck that in the pot now, and I'll see you back in 10 minutes. So here you can see I've got the can inside the hot water. Now I'm just using, this is an old protein powder pot, but I'm just gonna leave that there to sit in the hot water for about 10 minutes. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. Make sure you wear a respirator. Please don't do this inside or even outside without one of these on. It's really toxic, it's kind of horrible. So I'm going to get this out of here. Make sure there's no water on it, of course. And now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to shake this for about 2 minutes. Okay, so me being me, I just forgot that I didn't finish masking the sides, so I'm just going to run a bit more tape down. It's not the end of the world if you miss some masking, because the PlastiDip you can just take off. So okay, so the first coat's just going to be a dusting. Basically you just want to get the surface with a tiny dust spray of PlastiDip. I find if you do it too heavy you get dips in the paint, and then they're almost like irreversible, they don't really come out. So if you just go really lightly, I'd rather do, it's best if you do more like light coats rather than heavy coats, because I think you get a much better finish and there's less chance of runs. So I'm gonna do the first coat really lightly. Let's crack on. The first coat's on, doesn't look very light right now, but it was a light coat. And what you want to do at the end is just basically wipe the nozzle, because otherwise it blocks up really easily, as this PlastiDip's quite, it dries really fast, and it also blocks the nozzle a lot easier than regular paint because it's sort of elastic. So you want to make sure you wipe the nozzle, and if you can, spray it upside down until just air comes out. But in this case, I'm going to be doing the coat so quickly it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you wipe the tip.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm looking like Beans.
This is your first appearance onto the camera. She's so cute, guys. As some of you may or may not know, the truck is called Murdoch, that's why this sticker's here, but I'm going over it because it should slightly 3D sort of stick out a little bit, but it's not massive because I don't know how long this will stay on for, but hopefully for quite a while. And this is the carbon fibre badge, but once I've painted over it, I'm just going to peel it off because it's PlastiDip, so then I'll reveal the carbon fibre again. But if you can see here, the coating is still slightly shiny, so it's not dry yet, but you can definitely see that it is a light coat of paint. Of course, this is an old truck and I haven't had it since new, so the previous owner probably used it for truck use and he smacks it up. You know, it's got dents and dings and scratches all over it, small imperfections, but I'm hoping the PlastiDip will sort of fade these out and they won't be too noticeable once I've painted them. But for the moment, we'll just let this cure. You'll know when it's dry, when it turns matte black, and then we will do the second coat. I plan on doing about 6 coats on this. Okay, so it's time for the second coat. Now, you can go a little bit heavier on this coat, it doesn't have to be so light. So I'll probably do about double thickness on this coat. So here you can see when you're painting, you probably saw what I did. I did sort of one spray and I overlapped the second line sort of halfway over the original one, so it gives you a nice even finish. And also never go too heavy on the edges because the PlastiDip I find just sort of runs off if you go too heavy. So you want to gently dust the edges, but even when you're doing a heavy coat, just dust the edges, because if it's an edge like this, it wouldn't be an issue, but as it's such a fine piece that you can probably see in some places, like you can see that it does tend to, sometimes you see the original color of the car through. So you just want to be very gentle on the edges with the layers. Do a few more coats on the edges if you have to, but just do them lightly. But you can see this is clear gloss at the moment, but once it's dry it will go completely matte black. So we'll wait probably 15 to 20 minutes now and this coat will be done. Okay, so I've done the 4th coat and pretty much what we're going to do is I've waited 5 minutes for this one, so it's still tacky because you want it on the last coat to be as wet as possible because you get a much cleaner line when you take the masking tape off, because the longer you leave it before you take the tape off, the longer it literally turns to elastic really quickly, so you don't get a smooth line. So you need it to be really wet when you take the masking tape off. So I'm going to go slightly heavier on the masking tape lines, just so that aids taking the tape off and I get a nice crisp line. Yes! Let's get the hat back on, save the hairline. So, masking tape's off. Now, I'm actually very happy with this. I've got a fairly crisp line. There's only a couple of little spots. There's one there where it like intruded under the masking tape, but it's nothing major. But the key to peeling the masking tape off is I find the faster you do it and the quicker you do it, like after you finish the last coat, the better. So I went a nice heavy line along the masking tape and just went boom, pulled it off. You saw I was whizzing about on this little chair, and it actually has come out so well. So what I'll do is, so as there's now nothing touching the PlastiDip, I can let this dry overnight and I can leave it because I don't want to take the masking tape off from up here. That's the whole key with the fine line tape, is to tape it as close as you can with regular masking tape and do the final taping with the fine line tape. So look, now I've finished it and it's just a thin line all the way around it where it's not obviously in contact, because you don't want to have to take all of this down really quickly because it's just a pain. So you have to, it's much easier if you do it with the fine line tape. So what I'll do is I will let this cure, I'll let this cure overnight and I will be back with you tomorrow. Okay, so you join me in the same evening. I can't help myself but take the tape off. So it has dried a bit, but not massively. I've got the cat. So if you can hear the cat in the background, it's because she's mad at me because I didn't give her more food. So let's take this off. Okay, so the tape is off and the lights were tinted, well they are tinted, well smoked. but now they look really normal, because I guess this is against black. So the lights sort of don't really match that well. But we'll have to get it out in the sun tomorrow and see how it looks. But I actually got the lines really even, so I'm happy about that. But they actually are perfect. Okay, so it's been a whole day, and you can see that the back door is dry. It's fully cured to the touch. I think it looks really nice, but I think the final touch is going to be to PlastiDip this badge, just to add the little chrome accent, because I think it sort of looks a bit bland without the Mitsubishi badge. So I'm going to PlastiDip this, and we'll see how the carbon and chrome looks. Okay, so it's currently the next day and the paint's fully dried, and I've also brought it down to the salt flats in lovely sunny Portugal. Now, as you can see, it looks fantastic here. It really sets off the back of the truck. You can tell it apart from all the other trucks, because around here in Portugal there's loads of these L200s, but mine now certainly looks very different to the rest, so that's nice, a massive positive, because I don't like popular cars. But as you can see, my shadow's on it, but I call it the retro strip, because a lot of like old Golfs and things, their grills were just like solid black lines with the headlights in, and it sort of to me is like a retro stripe on the truck, and I'm super happy with the finish of it. And yeah, I just think it really makes the truck look cool. So hopefully you enjoyed the PlastiDipping process. It was quite an interesting one, more difficult to do obviously because the masking was quite complex to get that nice crease correct right there. But other than that, it went really well, and of course PlastiDip's really easy to work with if you're a beginner, because if you mess up you can just take it off, so it's fantastic. But other than that, that's everything for this week's video. Hopefully you'll like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.